Gratkowski. I'd like to welcome you today. I'm looking forward to learning a bit more about you.
Thank you, Helen.
So where does the Teresa story begin?
Well, it begins with me being the daughter of two migrant parents. They migrated from Poland back during the World War II. And my mother, of course, we were living in poverty. We were poor, and my mother used to sew everything for us children. I've got a brother and a sister. So all three of us grew up with our mother making all our clothes for us, even our undies.
Wow.
Yeah. And at the age of 12, basically, it was my turn to learn how to sew. And it was such a chore. I didn't like it, but I remember making my first shirt at the age of 12 and learning how to use the sewing machine. So that was an accomplishment.
And with your brothers and sisters, what sort of life did you have?
Well, it was fun, you know. We ran up and down the hills in New Zealand because that's where we grew up. We were all born there. Went to the beach, played with the kids up and down the valley. We grew up in a beautiful place called Happy Valley. And really, it was just fabulous playing with all the kids and just having a fun, normal childhood, riding bikes, stacking it and just having fun. No crash helmets in those days.
Helmets, the good old days.
No mobile phones, no Facebook, no distractions.
And what were you like at school?
I was a nerd.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah. When I first started school, primary school, I did not know a word of English. And to this day, I remember I was 4.5 because my birthday's in July. And I remember not knowing what the other kids were saying or what the teacher was saying. So that sort of turned me introverted because I couldn't speak, you know, I was a mute. So, so that sort of went with me through school. You know, I did learn to speak English eventually. But yeah, so I was just quiet, did what I was supposed to do. And back then we were raised as children should be seen and not heard. So so I just did my work diligently, learned as much as I could. And I had a photographic memory, so that made it really easy for me to pass exams.
And did you have an ambition as a child?
No, not really. And even up until I was 18 years of age, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So when I left school, I went to a convent college, right? So and the nuns would say, "Oh, you know, you girls, you don't have to have a career because you're going to get married and have children, and your husband will support you." So that's how it was back then in those days. So we were encouraged to learn shorthand typing. And you know, if we're lucky, we can be somebody's secretary. So that was how it was drummed into us. You know, it wasn't about being ambitious and having a career. That didn't come till later on, till I was 21, and then I couldn't find any clothing out there because as a 21-year-old, you just want to look trendy, and I'd have these ideas, creative ideas in my head, what I wanted to buy, and I'd go shopping. And I couldn't find anything that I liked. So that prompted me to book in to do a fashion course, fashion designing in New Zealand at the Wellington Polytechnic, which is really renowned for some great designers. Actually, Colette Dinnigan went there as well.
Amazing. So how old were you when you started there at the Polytechnic?
I was 21, and I was one of the oldest students there. A lot of them came straight out of school. I had already had like 4 years out of school doing different jobs and quitting because I didn't like them, like secretary and stuff like that. And I went overseas, so I'd travelled. So I was really more focused than the other students, and that really got me top honours. I blitzed it and came top of the class 2 years in a row, and got some jobs designing and pattern making. So that was fun. You know, it's fun being able to think of a design in your head and being able to turn it into a reality. That's what was really great about that.
And what was happening in your personal life at about that time?
Well, I'd had a couple of boyfriends by the time I turned 21. Nothing serious. Actually, yeah, it was. I got my heart broken when I was like 17, so that was serious. But had my heart broken when I was 17, love of my life. And of course that didn't work out. And Then when I went to, and I had another relationship, that's right, because I always had a job as a waitress. Like I always had two jobs, just for the sake of working and saving money for whatever. And then we decided to blow all that money, me and my boyfriend at the time, and we went traveling to America, Canada, and Mexico. And soon afterwards, when we came back, so that was for 3 months. When we came back, we split up. He ran off with another waitress. Lucky me, I guess, because then I went to that's when I booked in to do the fashion school. And I was lucky to have been chosen. Like every year, there's like 30 spots available, and over 200 people apply. So I was really lucky.
That's still in New Zealand?
Yeah, that's in New Zealand, Wellington Polytechnic. So great, I learnt so much, well-rounded course, how to do absolutely everything from cutting, sewing, menswear, womenswear, children's, everything from cutting to sewing, designing, drawing, and even business. So it was really great.
And you worked in that industry for how long?
So all my life, really all my life. So when I left, I was 23. And I worked for a designer in Wellington, learnt heaps. Then I got headhunted by a guy who owned a leatherware factory, and he was looking to trendy up the range of leather offerings, because leather was becoming really big back then. And so I became his designer, and I entered some awards, Benson and Hedges Fashion Awards back then. And won 2 years in a row the leisure lifestyle section with a beautiful lambskin ensemble, and then the following year I won the Leatherware Award, a dedicated one. So that was fun.
And how long was it before you reached Australia? Because
I was 26 when I reached Australia, 25, 26. Yeah, I'd gotten married in New Zealand, and my husband had accepted a job in Australia, so we moved to Australia. And yeah, that was really a huge move.
And how long have you been in business for yourself?
I've been in business for myself the last, since 2004. But it wasn't full on. I'd always had a part-time job, that's comfort zone. Getting all that regular income, it's always safe to have a job, earning a wage. But, and I just sort of did my business half-heartedly on the side. And then at some point I stopped having a job, the contract ran out, and I was actually excited because it was enabling me to free up my time to work and focus on my business.
And what are some of the struggles that you've had?
There's always struggles, and as I look back, I'm thankful for all of them because they all teach you something. So registering the wrong business name, for a start.
Really?
Yeah, yes, not doing...
That's something I'd do.
I know. I omitted to look through I looked through ASIC, but I didn't look through the IP Australia to see if the names were registered. So it's like, a lot of expense there, so big boo-boo there, a few $1,000s down the toilet. So my business started specifically as stylish cover-ups for women, because really what was available on the marketplace were really shapeless offerings, such as a sarong, which is just a rectangle. And then there's caftans, which are really quite shapeless and voluminous amounts of fabric, and overshirts. So really, there was nothing to cater to fit women's curves and make them look sexy and flattering. Because sometimes when you put too much fabric on a person, you're trying to cover up, say, a bigger frame, and it just makes you look even bigger. So there was this niche in the marketplace that I found. And with my pattern making and designing skills, I was able to design something around women's curves. Because like a sarong, which is just straight lines and curves just do not go together.
No, they don't.
No, it's basic physics, isn't it? So, I started to work on a range that especially fitted to work around women's curves, to fit and flatter our curvy bits. So I designed a range of swimwear cover-ups to fit and flatter women's curves. So when a woman gets out of, say, a pool at a pool party, She can put something on that will cover her top half and her bottom half and make her look sexy at the same time. So, yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Everyone needs that.
I know. And then as I showed it to women, the range grew because the fuller figured women said, well, that's all well and good, but I don't want to show my curves. I want to hide them. So along came another style that was a bit more forgiving on curves, and it would just skim over the body. So the range developed because I was asking the target audience, the women, what they wanted, and I developed it from that.
What would you say some of your current challenges are?
My manufacturer at the moment is not giving me the quality he agreed to give me. So that's a huge challenge. It's like when things are out of your control. So I'm just in the process of negotiating with him, can he actually deliver the quality I'm after?
And do you have other people that help you?
Yes, absolutely. I'm actually in partnership with a guy called Wayne. I've actually known him since for the last 30 years. He's a graphic artist and a graphic designer, and he's doing the designs on my wearable art shawls because the range has evolved. So it's gone from swimwear cover-ups through to wearable art. Right, so that process started happening when one of my clients, a woman who had bought a cover-up that was meant to be, for her bikinis, she wore it to a wedding. So, and they're all very versatile, and you can wear it different ways. So she wore it in such a way that it just looked fabulous. It looked like a dress, and it was a double-layered, beautiful mesh fabric. And she sent me a photo of her at a wedding wearing it. So I thought, oh my gosh. So that's when the range sort of turned a corner. And I started doing things that women can wear over the top of basic clothing. I've actually got one on now. When I open my wardrobe, like 80% of it's black. And it's a great way to introduce colour to your wardrobe and cover the bits you want to cover. So, that's where my new styles have been born. So that's only in the last 2 years, and it's still evolving. And we're working on wearable art shawls, different designs like wings shawls, angel wings, eagle wings, PowerShell photos. I took photos. My father used to polish PowerShells. As a child, we'd collect PowerShells around the coast of Wellington, where I grew up. And I've got some beautiful bookends that he made out of polished PowerShell. And I took photos of them and printed them on silk. So, and I'm making cover-up garments out of those.
And tell me a little bit more about the meaning behind some of the designs of your other wearable art.
Yes, there's a fabulous one. Our first piece that I did in collaboration with Wayne is an eagle wings, and it shows turbulence underneath the eagle. So, so in doing that, I did a bit of research about eagles, and the eagle being the apex predator of the sky, he is the only bird, he or she, is the only bird that uses the turbulence of a storm to lift itself higher. So
I like that.
It's great. It doesn't seek to escape the storm, but it just uses that turbulence to rise above the storm. So while the storm is raging below, the eagle is soaring above it.
So there's a layer of meaning there.
Oh, absolutely.
And do you use that in your other art?
Yes, everything's symbolic. Like all our designs are woven with symbolism.
So is that a message that you're giving to your people, to your...
Absolutely. The other thing that I'm really passionate about is, because I've been in the rag trade, or the fashion industry for so many years, I really don't like the disposable nature of fashion, that you've got to buy something new every season just to be in fashion. So that's where I've designed the range of cover-ups so that they do not go in and out of fashion. And they last, they're just classic pieces and timeless that last.
Well, that's wonderful, because style's not about fashion.
It's not, is it? It's not. So, and that's where the wearable art comes in. It's not something that's fashionable. It will always be just a special piece to have in your wardrobe. And we're working on certificates of authenticity for each of the wearable art designs. So that adds value and meaning to each one as well.
So what would be your message to young people who might like to enter into the rag trade, the fashion industry? All
right, big advice here. Be prepared to start at the very bottom. I've spoken to a lot of young people. I've actually hired a lot of young people through my years working for other fashion houses. And the attitude seems to be one of they'll just step into a role and be the chief designer. And it's not the case. You've got to start with earn your stripes, basically. You've got to do the jobs that you don't necessarily like, you know, cutting samples, things like that.
But that's like life, really, isn't it?
It is life. It is, but I don't know how they've been trained or brought up, but it's like they sort of expect to sort of just step into it. So my advice to anyone starting out in the rag trade, it's not glamorous at all. It just looks glamorous. You see 5 seconds worth of glamour on the outside when there's a fashion show or something, but there's like countless hours and months and days and weeks of hard sweat and tears and frustration, and so nothing glamorous about it except for those 5 minutes on a catwalk or something like that, and that makes it all worthwhile, I guess. You know, you get those accolades and it's lovely.
And it all started years ago.
Yeah, years ago. Yeah, how many years ago? Over 30 years ago.
No, but as a child, it's your childhood.
Yeah. As a childhood, yeah. I remember looking through my little children's books, and you know, you see these. So they were probably in the 60s and 70s, and I think, yep, I want that, I want that, I want that. You know, whatever these women were wearing, and I ended up bringing them all to life, out of my head and onto the paper and onto fabric.
What do you think your mum would say?
Oh, she'd be proud. She'd be thrilled. Yeah. And I'm doing something that makes my heart sing. And, you know, and it hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it. And it just continues to be a journey. And I'm taking the good with the bad. When it's a struggle, it's like I've learnt to let go and think, okay, usually what happens is something better comes along. So I've learnt to release and go with the flow.
So as you look into the future, Teresa, what sort of things can you see ahead?
Oh, lots of exciting things.
Yes.
All right, so number one, I want to contribute. I want to make a contribution to the world. So as sales are rolling in and money's rolling in, I'm going to use that to help people, like build wells in Africa and help people that are really in genuine need, you know, that are slipping through the cracks in the government. But one step backwards before that happens, what's happening with the business is I'm collaborating with other artists, and one exciting one in particular is Robin Coughlin. She's a renowned...
I've heard of her.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's an Aboriginal artist, and she makes beautiful contemporary Aboriginal art, and we're collaborating on some pieces right now as we speak. So watch this space for Robin's beautiful artwork. It'll be fantastic.
Thank you very much for sharing a little bit about your life and your passions. I had hoped that we'd see some of your beautiful wearable art.
Thank you, Helen. Here's the eagle one. It's the eagle wings. There's some turbulence going on below. Lifting this eagle high, there's a symbolic lotus in the middle. So it's really woven with symbolism. So that's beautiful. One. Thank you. It's a beautiful soft cotton, that one. And here's the angel wings one. We're doing them in several different colours. So this one comes in a blue, and we're currently working on a pink. So angel wings. So these are so symbolic to buy it for an angel in your life. You know, it's a lot of the time we don't know what to buy someone special, and this is it. So if anyone's got an angel in
and these
their
were
life,
designed by Wayne.
Wayne, yeah. So I would ring him and say, hey, we need an angel shawl, and of course it takes about 3 or 4 or 10 drafts before we're both happy with it. So he's, you know, I have the thought about it, and then he's the talent behind making it happen. So don't know what I'd do without him. He's awesome. Plus he signs each artwork. This is a beautiful butterfly, and it bears a signature at the bottom, so that adds value to it. It's like having a beautiful artwork, but you're wearing it. And this is a gorgeous butterfly.
Beautiful.
So that's
stunning.
Thank you. So that's symbolic of just metamorphoses, of you know, people are buying them as like graduation gifts and things like that, because as we evolve through the stages of our lives.
I love the symbolism.
Yeah, they're all symbolic. And this is what I was talking about before, about the power shell that my father used to polish. And I took photos of the actual shell and had it printed here in Australia. And there's even a little charm of a power shell that's attached to it.
That's lovely.
Thanks.
You think about your father when you see those?
I do, and sometimes I ask him for help.
Oh, Teresa, thank you so much for sharing this with us all. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. It's been fun. Thank you.